He was out and went into the federal workplace, had a decent job, but he never was in the right place. If you knew him, you know he likes to live in a box. He likes to live with guidelines and set schedules. That's perfect for the military. And he loves his brothers there. He loves what he does to protect the United States.
Did he go back in the Air Force?
And no, he's back in the Army.
At the Army.
So that's why he had to go redo, because he started something entirely new. So I tell you, we didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks, and I told Terry, I said, well, that's good, because if it was bad, we would have heard. So, anyway, he's encouraging words from him, but we don't get too many words.
We have a granddaughter, a great-granddaughter, was in Alaska. Anyway, every time she joined when she was like 18, and her granddad, every time he'd see her, he'd say, "Are you an officer yet?" Well, she was about to be pinned, and she wanted Grandpa to pin her. Well, he didn't quite make it, but she was just pinned in August, and she's at OTS now. So OTS in Alabama. No, it's officers training, I believe is what they call OTS. Or she's Air Force. I don't know what the difference is. Anyway, and then they're going to go back to Alaska.
It's a great place to be stationed. You like it? Thank you all.
Okay. All right. So, what stood out to you? Anything about God? Anything you learned about God this last week?
Faithful.
He's faithful, even when we're not. Well, I know last Wednesday we actually read the first couple of chapters in Esther, but I didn't want to talk about it because I wanted to do the whole book together, and there's a lot in there. What's something that's very unique about the book of Esther?
The name of God is not mentioned.
It does not mention the name of God anywhere in it. However, he's at work all through it. So, start off, let's just walk through it. First thing, Ahasuerus or Xerxes had a big party. What was it, 9 months? Something like that? I don't remember. I want to say 180 days, and then that would be what, 6 months, probably something like that. Big party for 6 months. And at the very end of it, and everyone was kind of drunk anyway, he asked Queen Vashti, his wife, to do something, and she refused. What was that?
And I want to say parade around through his party, whatever, so he could show her off, but
Yes.
she refused.
So he could show off her beauty. Why did she refuse? I mean, it says in the Bible that he wanted her to come in there and wear her crown and show herself off. Why did she refuse?
She thought she could, I guess.
I thought she felt it was degrading.
Yeah. But why? That's the key.
Maybe
Because the
because they
only
were
thing he
drunk.
wanted her to wear was her crown.
Yeah, the only thing he wanted her to wear was a crown. He wanted her to come in with nothing but her crown on. Yeah. And she refused. And so then he got together with his buddies, and there was like, okay, what should we do? Because she refused, and that's, you're not supposed to refuse the king. And so they basically said, well, let her be no longer be queen, never come in his presence again, and let a search be made for someone else to be queen. So what was that process like? Searching for a new queen. Beauty contest?
That lasted for months.
Several years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
long time.
And there was no choice on their part.
There was no choice on their part.
They were just,
They were basically kidnapped,
Right?
yes, and brought into the palace. And they were given all kinds of beauty treatments and different things. And then the king would call them in, and I mean, blunt, he would call them in, they'd spend the night together, and then they would be put in his harem if he didn't want to make her queen.
they become his concubine.
Yes, yes. So all of this is happening. Mordecai, who is Esther's cousin, Mordecai had a fairly high office there in Babylon. And he was out by the gate one day and he overheard something. What was that?
Assassination
Oh,
plot.
yeah,
Plot to assassinate King Xerxes or Ahasuerus. And so he got word. I guess that was after Esther was chosen queen. What did Esther? She told the king, and they checked it out. Sure enough, it was right. So they executed the two guys that were trying to kill the king. What happened to Mordecai right then? At that point, nothing. It's like the king forgot all about him, which is really neat for what happens later. Haman, he was second in command of the entire nation, but he hated Mordecai. Why?
Because he was about
Yeah,
He refused to bow down
to him, show respect.
And why did Mordecai refuse?
Because he worshipped God.
He wasn't God. And that's, I think, part of it. I think part of it, too, was that he was a descendant of the,
Oh, yeah, another
was it the
nationality.
Amalekites or the Agagites? I forgot now. Anyway, he was a descendant of a
The Agagite.
nation, Agagite, that was an enemy of the Jewish people.
I know, but Haman was the
Haman.
Agagite.
Agagite.
Right.
So Haman hated him for that, right? So Haman decided to do something. What was that?
destroy the Jewish people.
All of them.
Kill them all.
Right. He didn't want to just kill Mordecai. He wanted to kill all the Jews.
Annihilate them.
And so he went to the king and he said, I'll give you a whole bunch of money. We'll just make this. There's a group of people that are not loyal. Of course, the king didn't check it out at all. And I'll give so much money to the treasury and we'll just wipe them all out. And then how did they decide what date?
It was 9 months away.
Mhm.
They sent out letters.
Yeah, but how did they decide what date it would be? Remember? Hmm?
They didn't say.
They cast lots. They threw the dice.
Yeah.
And those dice that they threw, they were called Pur. P-U-R.
P-U-R.
And later, we're going to find out that the celebration at the end of it was called Purim because of casting the dice. And they sent out letters and they said, okay, on this particular day, what was going to happen?
They were all going to be killed.
Yeah, anybody at all wanted to attack any Jew anywhere, they had the king's permission. They would not get in trouble. No, being arrested or anything that way. Just go and wipe them out. And when Mordecai heard this, what did he do?
Tore off his clothes and put on sackcloth.
Put on sackcloth and ashes. So he was in mourning. And Esther tried to get him to put on other clothes and stuff. And then he got word to her that, hey, this is
This is what's
going to happen.
Gave her a copy of the letter.
Yes. And so she knew then what was going on. So the first thing that he does is he says, you need to go and talk to the king. Why did she not want to do that?
It took special request for her to get to do that.
Right. Nobody could come into the presence of the king unless
Nobody knew
he
she was a Jew.
called for them. And if you did come in unannounced, the only hope you had was that as soon as the king saw you, that he held out his scepter so you could touch the end of the scepter. If he didn't do that, then the guards right there would kill you. I mean, almost instantly. So she was scared, you know, I can imagine. And so she said, she said he hadn't called for me in a long time, so I don't know that I can get that message to him. And how did Mordecai respond to that? It's a verse that we,
I thought it was her idea, if they fast and prayed for 3 days.
yeah, that, but before that, what did he say to her?
Maybe this is why you were in this position.
Right, for such a time as this, and we hear that phrase all the time, that's where it comes from. Maybe you were put in that position for such a time as this.
And don't think your heritage is going
Yes.
to escape.
Don't think that
You
you're,
realize that
just where you're at, your position is not going to save you, yet, because you're a Jew. And I love what he said. He said, deliverance will come from somewhere,
Whether you do it or not.
whether you do it or not. But this may be the only way that you're going to get saved. So she goes, and she goes before the king. He holds out the scepter. And what does she ask?
Dinner.
Come to dinner.
You and Haman.
You and Haman. And she knows Haman's the one that planned all of this. But the two of you come to dinner. And they went to dinner that day and had a good time. And then the king said, okay, what do you want? Up to half my kingdom, what do you want? And what did she say?
Another dinner.
Come to dinner tomorrow. I always wondered about that. I'm sure it's a cultural thing, but I also wonder if she was just, I don't know whether you know, how am I going to actually say all of this, but then the second dinner, well, before the second dinner, I almost forgot about this. The king can't go to sleep. He's tossing and turning. And so what does he do?
Oh, whoever, to read what's been going on in his
Read.
kingdom.
Read the history of, which, we've read some passages in the Bible with all the names and things. It's
Might
probably
be
a lot
kind of
like
like a
that.
diary, because there
Yes.
were things that went on during his kingship or
Yeah.
whatever.
But when he was reading it, when they were reading it, he realized what?
Mordecai was never rewarded for the.
Mordecai was never rewarded for warning him. And so the next morning, bright and early, he decides, I'm gonna do something for Mordecai. And who walks in?
Haman.
Haman. And so he looks at Haman and he says, what should be done for a man that the king wants to honor? And Haman's thinking to himself, oh, why did Haman show up so early? I forgot that.
Oh, yeah, he was going to ask permission to put Mordecai on the stake.
Yes, he had they call it a gallows, but it was more like a big pole,
75 foot.
sharp end on it, and they would just basically skewer you. And he was wanting to do that to Mordecai. And he was going there that morning to get permission from the king to do that. And then the king says, what should be done for somebody that the king wants to honor? And so what did Haman tell him?
On the king's horses.
The king's personal
Purple
horse,
robe.
a robe that the king had worn, crown, have somebody lead him through the streets saying, this is how the king honors somebody. I don't remember exact wording. This is what's done to a man the king wants to honor. What was he thinking? He figured it was going to be him. I mean, who else? He's the second in command. He's been really, really close.
Plus, he's full of himself.
Yes, he is full of himself. That's right. And so what happened? King said,
Go get it to me.
go do it to Mordecai. Can you imagine? My pastor in Uvalde used to have a picture of Jesus. It was a printout of Jesus laughing. You may have seen it before. But God has a sense of humor, There's just lots of things in the Bible when you read about it, it's like, that was just so perfect. So Haman has to walk around taking Mordecai, talking about how, this is how the king honors someone. So then he gets back, and it's time to go eat again. So he goes into the dinner, again, just him, the king, and Esther, which he was, really excited that he's the one that she asked. And then what request does Esther finally make?
That her lives be spared and the lives of her people be spared.
Yes, her life and the life of her people be spared. And who is the culprit? Remember how she described him? No, Mordecai's her uncle. Cousin. Haman. Said, this vile Haman. And Haman is, everything is just collapsing all around him. Right? And I like also, she said, if you were just going to put us into slavery, I wouldn't say anything. But since he's wanting to just wipe everybody out, then I need to say something about it. Why? Well, the king kind of goes out the hallway or whatever to kind of calm down, and came back in, and what did he see?
Haman was kind of throwing himself at her, whether it was fleeing or assault or whatever.
Yes,
But the king took it as an assault.
yes. Could have been pleading his case, could have been trying to assault her, who knows, but
When they tripped.
King saw that. He could have tripped.
Huh?
Huh?
But I thought I read that he
Oh,
did
it
trip.
tripped? I don't know, it could have been, I don't remember
He
that.
was,
says
I think,
that he
going
had
to
fallen.
He fallen?
He had fallen across the couch where Esther was.
Yeah, I don't know whether it means he tripped or if he threw himself down.
I don't know either.
But the king thought it was an assault.
Yes, and so he's like, okay, let's get rid of it right now. And somebody said, oh, by the way, we just happen to have the perfect place.
Those gallows.
At Haman's house, he's built this gallows to kill Mordecai, and now we can, kill him on that. So they did. And then Esther says, can you please change that, revoke that edict that all of the Jewish people would be killed? But the king cannot do that. Why?
Because that's how
thing
it's
that
set up.
Ray sealed it.
Yeah.
It is Persian custom that if the king puts it in the law, it is set in stone, cannot be changed past or into the future.
Right. Once it's set in stone, you cannot change it. So is this a good thing?
No.
Well, they got around it.
Yeah, they did, but in general, for the king, would this be a good thing?
No.
I thought about that. And in a sense, it might be, because then the king would be normally a lot more careful about the things that he signed, knowing that, future people would have to deal with it. And maybe they wouldn't make such risky decisions like Xerxes did. So maybe it wasn't really bad, but it was, in this case, it was definitely not a good thing.
It was why a lot of the rules of that era had a time frame or a date to it. Like,
Right.
Like when the Jews were going to be slaughtered, the date was picked because he didn't want it to be continuous, he just wanted it all over with.
Right, yes, he did have that, that was true. The time was set, and it was just until this point, and that may have been a lot of everything that they did for the next 5 years. We talked about this last week before, that Belshazzar, one of those kings, put in a decree that nobody could pray to anybody but him,
Darius the Mede.
Belteshazzar, and could not do that for a period of time. But again, a period of time.
Well, they'd use the same method on him. He didn't realize what he
Right.
was signing. And
Yeah.
wasn't it Nebuchadnezzar that they did that to from Daniel? too?
Right.
So this is a common practice.
Yes, it is. It's common practice over and over.
Patterns.
With Nebuchadnezzar, Belteshazzar, all of those. And let's see where we're at. What did, the king basically said, okay, here's my ring. You can't revoke it, but if you can come up with something, I'll give you a ring and you can make a proclamation. So what did they come up with?
They fixed it so they could fight in self-defense.
Yes, that the Jews could defend themselves. And the Jews could actually attack their enemies, the ones that were trying to kill them. They could attack them. And it's set on that particular day, and that day happened. And I don't remember, a whole bunch of people were killed in Susa. 75,000. And then they had a second day out, or no, that was just in Susa was the second day. The 14th and the 15th, I think they are. It's around April, sometime around April. Remember, the Jewish calendar is all based on the moon, not on the sun. So that's why Easter changes from, end of March to, middle of March, middle of April. And this would be sometime around that time period. And what is that holiday called? Purim. Yeah, we just talked about that earlier. And they made it a lasting thing that they would celebrate. And in the town of Susa, I don't know whether it's done in Jerusalem, but they celebrate 2 days, and everywhere else it's 1 day. But anyway, anything else about Esther?
She was the only one that caught the king's eye and married, became queen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she didn't ask for all the special things that all
Right.
the others did.
She didn't ask for anything special. Just whatever the advisor told her to take. Yeah.
She had some good advisors.
Yeah. I had just thought of something else. Oh. Who's the next king, by the way? Remember? It's Artaxerxes, and we're going to talk about him with Nehemiah. Artaxerxes was a descendant. It might be son of Xerxes, it could even be grandson or something, but he's Ahasuerus, which is Xerxes, and Nehemiah, Artaxerxes. But is that Esther's son? Probably not. Yeah, there's not anything, evidence that shows that Esther had any kids. I mean, she could have, and they just were probably not the firstborn anyway, because it seems like that the king was married to Vashti for a long time, so he probably already had a son, the firstborn son that would become king. So we already talked about this stuff in Ezra. We talked about it last week. But Nehemiah, who was Nehemiah? What was his job?
Cupbearer for the king.
Cupbearer for the king. So what does that involve?
Tasting his food, making sure it's not poisoned.
Yes, tasting food and drink, make sure he's not poisoned.
Be very trustworthy.
Yes, be a very trustworthy person, and I guess pretty brave too. It depends on the king, I guess. If you got a king that everybody's mad at, then it might be a dangerous position. What did he hear? What disturbing news did he hear about Jerusalem? The walls were still down. Gates were not there. They had rebuilt the temple, but nothing else. And so he asked, or the king saw him, said, you're downcast,
What's wrong?
which is not a good thing for the cupbearer. If he's showing that he's not real happy and all, the king might think, okay, what did I just eat? I shouldn't have eaten, right? But he's like, there must be something wrong. What is it? And so I like it. It says that he did a real quick prayer, and then he told him, he said, why shouldn't I be upset? My home country, the capital is in ruins. There's the walls and the gates are gone. And so the king said, well, what would you like to do? And he said, well, why don't you give me some time off and I'll go and get it fixed. How long did he take off?
12 years.
12 years. That's a long vacation, right? But he was still, in a sense, working for the king. In fact, the king was still paying him that whole time, paying his salary, and did another, quite a bit, helped out getting the people there, getting all the materials there.
Put a lot of obstacles in his way.
Yes, yeah. And then the people, there were two people in particular that lived there that were kind of governors of the other areas around there, Sanballat and Tobiah. What all did they do?
Spread lies at one point.
Hmm?
Didn't they spread some lies?
Oh yeah, spread lies. Said that Nehemiah was just going to try to become king, set up a kingdom there in Jerusalem again. What else?
They sent a letter to the king
Yeah.
saying they're gonna rebel against you.
Sent letters, not just one. I think there were 3 or 4 letters sent to different kings. Every time it was a new king, there was a new letter saying you need to check this out and everything. Even to the point of, I don't know what you'd say, they hired Shemaiah, or just the fact that he was a relative, but they convinced him to tell Nehemiah that he was in danger of getting killed and he needed to go and hide out in the temple. And Nehemiah said, "No, why? Why wouldn't he hide out in the temple?
He's not a priest, he's not
He's
allowed.
not a priest." That's the big thing, because the priest could go in there when it was their time to serve. The high priest could only go, the Holy of Holies was only in once a year, but even the holy place where the showbread and the menorah and the altar of incense, all of that stuff that's in the holy place, the priests that were on duty, they would only go in there during that one time and they would serve, and then somebody else would go to the next one. In fact, we read today about Zechariah, and one of the things that she said in her podcast was that a lot of the Jewish men, the priests, would only do that one time in their entire life. They served from 30 to 50, so 20 years, and one time during that time may they get the opportunity and the responsibility to go in and actually light the candles and change out the showbread and spend some time in there in prayer. So they could do that, but nobody else ever went in the temple. I mean, they could go outside in the court of men and all that stuff, but they could not go in the temple.
But this is the very same thing that we see in our starting of this next in the New Testament.
Yes,
Zechariah
right.
was in the temple, and probably the only time
Yep.
he'd ever been there to serve, the only time he ever would.
Yeah.
And God spoke to him there and told him about John.
Yes, and the timing of all of
Yes.
that. And God is a God of timing. I mean, it was just right when He wanted that, which was, like about a year before Jesus was born, because Elizabeth was around 3 months pregnant when Mary found out she was going to be the mother of Jesus. So, not exactly sure on the days, because they may have had some fluctuations here and there. But
I read like that Elizabeth didn't get pregnant until after his service in the
Right. It would have been after it was
The
over
angel
with.
had said, name him John, and
Right.
he wouldn't talk.
Yep. Couldn't talk.
Couldn't talk
Yeah.
until after he was born.
So, when the people, they find the copy of the law, and Ezra is the one teaching the law, he would read it, he would tell some things, and then the Levites would come along and help the people understand. This is something that I use a lot. But what physical position did the people take when Ezra was reading the law?
They bow down, faces to the ground, worship.
Well, they stood.
Yeah, all day thing.
Yeah, all day thing. And every Sunday when I start to read the passage, I have you stand. That's why. It comes from this passage right here. You always wonder why I do that, right? This is why. I already told you that one, so. And they figured out a particular celebration had been forgotten. What is that celebration? Feast of Booths or Feast of Tabernacles, and that's where they make temporary houses. And the whole point of the temporary shelters is to show or to remind them of their wilderness wanderings when they were in tents, or slept out in the open the whole time, the whole 40 years. And so they were not permanent dwellings, and they don't do that today. They just take a slab of wood here and there and make a little thing. And a lot of times it will have gaps in the roof so that they can see the stars. That's something that most of them want to do. And what happens if it's raining? They get wet. And that's just a special blessing. But the Feast of Booths, one of the things that they do during all that time is they study the law. They study the Word of God a lot. So they did that. And then Malachi. And I was going to print those out, but I don't have them printed out. Malachi 3:6 is a very, very familiar passage. I'll read it to you. All right. Yes. That's not the translation. Somebody want to read 3:6? You have it?
For I am the Lord, I do not change. Therefore you are not consumed, O sons of Jacob.
Okay, that's kind of what mine said. Was it, does anyone have a King James?
Mine's New King James.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's in our,
That's
it's a little
the
different.
one that you want?
Well, I know it's, the Lord will not change. And maybe I wrote the wrong verse down.
You're not thinking about the one of the tithe seed that.
No, that was 3:10.
This says, "For I am the Lord, I change not, therefore you, O sons of Jacob, are not consumed."
Okay.
Is that closer?
New Living Translation says, I am the Lord and I do not change. That is why you descendants of Jacob are not already destroyed.
Yeah. That's, for some reason, that I know it says I'm God and I don't change, but I think there was another one. I may have written that one down wrong. The other one is 8 through 10, and it says, will a man rob God? Yet you are robbing me in not bringing your tithes and offerings into the house. And it says, test me in this. This is one of the, I think it's the only place in the Bible that God says, test me. See if I won't remain true to my word. And of course, we know he will, and we know we should. Everything he says, we ought to just take it and believe it, because it's going to be true. I'll have to look at that. I may have, when I was reading through there, I thought, oh, this is one that we hear all the time. Okay. Anything else? All right, well, let's stand. Join hands, and we will sing a Christmas chorus. Thank you all for being here. Let's turn it off already.
She's sneaking.
Doesn't matter.
You ready to sing it? There we go.
Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus, but to trust and obey.
Thank you.
Send me a text.